We are so back. Welcome back. It's been a few months, I know. Wrestling's Bullshit Report, episode 20. Here we are. Episode 19 was far long ago, just about 3 or 4 months ago, not that long ago. But we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Just had a couple of roadblocks, if you will, in my personal life, in my career. Got that all figured out, got that all situated. Had some time to think about what I want this to be and why I do this. And nonetheless, here we are. We're back. We've thought about it. We're back and we're going to talk wrestling. I don't want to spend too long with this return promo, if you will, but I do want to say that the goal with wrestling is bullshit has always been to make all sorts of different wrestling accessible to the fans. I remember being a fan and only really knowing about WWE. Of course, WWE has been on fire over the past couple of years, but there was a time when it wasn't. There was a time when I wanted to seek other wrestling out and integrate it into my viewership. And now, of course, through basically learning about all these different promotions and everything in the world of wrestling outside of WWE, I feel like I'm well equipped to introduce people who may watch WWE, who may watch WWE and AEW, who may watch everything, whether whatever category you fall into. If you're a casual WWE fan, if you're an AEW fan, if you're like me and you watch everything, this show is going to have something for you. Hopefully, something new for you and something recognizable to you, something that you can relate to, something that you've seen, something that you follow. Anywho, that's the goal. I just want to make that very clear. We are going to talk wrestling. I am going to go over what happened in the past week of wrestling, go over the news, things that happen outside of the TV shows, and then, of course, end on the watch list, which is basically matches and shows that will be coming up in the week in the world of professional wrestling. And I'm excited. I'm glad to be back. I missed making content for you guys, whoever's watching. And I think this vision of making the world, keyword world, of professional wrestling accessible to all who wish to learn about it and consume it and enjoy it, making that accessible to you watching right now, and giving you the option of knowing what's coming up, what just happened, and what's happening behind the scenes. Of course, that's the juiciest part of being a pro wrestling fan here on the internet, is what's happening behind the scenes. It's a part of the show. It's not the biggest part of the show, but I understand its importance for the fandom here. So we're going to talk about all those things. Let's start with the results. Again, I'm happy to be back. We have three pieces of results here, as we have crowned a new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Zack Sabre Jr. has been on a tear for the past few months. He had a great showing at Wrestle Kingdom just last month and at Wrestle Dynasty, a new tradition of New Japan Pro Wrestling, the night after Wrestle Kingdom, taking on Shota Umino at Wrestle Kingdom, and then after Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty, taking on Ricochet. I think the Ricochet match was a little better, but nonetheless, man, what I'm trying to say is Zack Sabre Jr. was, keyword was, a fantastic IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. And the person to dethrone him was Hirooki Goto at the New Beginning pay-per-view for New Japan Pro Wrestling just a couple days ago. It's good to see Goto win the big one, in my opinion, because we've had a lot of gaijins with the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship as of recent, as of the past few years. We saw Jay White win it before he went to AEW. We just had Zack Sabre Jr. come off of a pretty solid championship reign. And then we also had Jon Moxley win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship just last year, before losing it back to Tetsuya Naito, who a lot of fans have been waiting to see get an IWGP World Heavyweight Championship run. In my personal opinion, Tetsuya Naito did okay with the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. I think the championship reign for Naito was long overdue, but nonetheless, man, we're entering a brave new world with Hirooki Goto as our IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. And I think he's a guy that deserves it. I'd love to see him go up against the likes of Yota Tsuji. I know Yota Tsuji has the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship right now, but whether Tsuji loses or keeps that Global Heavyweight Championship, I would like to see Goto versus Tsuji. I think that's a money match for New Japan. Maybe we'll see Tsuji win the G1 this year. You know, now that we know that Goto is our guy, of course, we had no issue with Zack Sabre Jr. being our guy, but it just feels right seeing that IWGP World Heavyweight Championship on Hirooki Goto. And I want to see what kind of matches they're going to put together this year. What is going to headline the G1? What is going to carry New Japan through 2025? We know Goto is going to be there, but who's going to step up? I'm sure Shota will step up once again. I'd love to see Tsuji, like I just said, and the list goes on and on. We'll see Zack Sabre Jr. get his rematch, I'm sure. I'm really glad to see Goto, a fresh face for the main event scene of New Japan, get the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship around his shoulders. It's a good feeling, and I'm excited to see what 2025 holds for that championship reign. That is one of 3 new champions that were crowned this week, guys. We had a quite eventful week, right? So that was, what was that, on Monday or Tuesday, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. The 2 other champions that were crowned this week in the world of professional wrestling both took place this past Saturday. Yesterday, if you're watching at the time of this upload. We had Stephanie Vaquer defeat the former, oh, I forgot her name. Oof. And I'm a really big fan of her too. Whatever. Stephanie Vaquer is the new women's North American champion in NXT. And this ultimately culminates what is the entrance into a new era for women's wrestling in NXT, as Julia holds the NXT Women's Championship. Stephanie Vaquer, as of yesterday, as of this week, now holds the Women's North American Championship. The 2 recent signees of NXT that made a big deal when they signed on are now champions in NXT. Women's wrestling is doing fantastic, and NXT is leading the charge. Honestly, NXT is fantastic right now. They got Bayley in the mix. They got Cora Jade, who's better than ever. Roxanne Perez just coming off a record-setting NXT Women's Championship reign, as well as a record-setting Royal Rumble participation. Women's wrestling is being led by NXT right now, but don't sleep on AEW. That leads us into our 3rd women's champion that was crowned, as Timeless Toni Storm regained the AEW Women's World Championship against Mariah May at AEW Grand Slam Australia. Timeless Toni Storm is going on to establish herself as potentially the best AEW Women's World Champion in AEW's young history. What is this, her 3rd or 4th reign? I know the first reign that she had was what do you call it? It was an interim reign, so I don't know if they're counting that as an official championship reign. Nonetheless, she's held this title about 3 or 4 times. This is her 2nd time holding the AEW Women's World Championship as the Timeless Toni Storm gimmick, and I think she's definitely establishing herself as the face of women's wrestling over there in AEW. It was good to see her get the win in her home country of Australia. Super awesome. I think Mariah May did a great job holding the AEW Women's World Championship since August, when she beat Timeless Toni Storm in All In Wembley Stadium. I think she did a great job establishing herself as a top star. I would definitely look forward to part 3 between Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May. Hopefully at All In Texas, because I do plan to attend that show and travel for that show this year. So, nonetheless, man, Chapter 2 of Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May took place in Australia this past weekend at AEW Grand Slam. Mariah May lost the AEW Women's World Championship, but not to worry, as Mariah May is better than she's ever been. She is a star over there in AEW, even in defeat. And I look forward to the 3rd match between Toni Storm and Mariah May for sure. 3 new champions. We got Hirooki Goto getting us excited for 2025 in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Just feels right to see that IWGP World Heavyweight Championship around his shoulders. And if you would have told me like last month, hey, Hirooki Goto is going to win that IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, I would have said, what? I don't think so. I don't think that'll be too good. Just keep it on Zack Sabre Jr. But seeing it happen, seeing it play out, I'm like, all right, New Japan, what you got for us? I can get behind that. Goto as champ, I can get behind that for sure. And then having Stephanie Vaquer win the Women's North American Championship over in NXT was fantastic. And then, of course, timeless Toni Storm cementing herself as one of the greatest in AEW's young history. All good stuff, guys. All good stuff. All that's what I got for you this week. That's the results in this past week in the world of professional wrestling. Only got one bit of news for you guys, and let's find out what that is. It has to do with AEW, and if you're an AEW fan, it's not good news. It's not good news, man. It looks like we got quite a few releases coming out of AEW, and one of those releases already showed up on NXT this past Tuesday. Ricky Starks went from AEW not being on TV for months and months and months, and now he has just debuted on NXT. Ricky Starks is WWE bound. NXT is going to give Ricky Starks what he needs to become the star that he was always meant to be. I think that it's a great home for Ricky Starks now in NXT and a huge loss for AEW. Other names that AEW has released include Malakai Black, former WWE star, Miro, former WWE star, and finally Rey Fénix, whose brother Penta just showed up in WWE last week. This could be a nightmare for Tony Khan and AEW, as 5 credible stars may be jumping ship from AEW to WWE. Will AEW be okay? Yes, AEW will be okay without Ricky Starks. It's a shame because I think Ricky Starks was fantastic in AEW. Malakai Black, again, it's a shame. I think there were several opportunities for him to hold singles gold over his time in AEW. Nonetheless, he may be WWE bound once again. See what Triple H and company have in store for him creatively. And then Miro, formerly known as Rusev. Miro did hold singles gold. He held the TNT championship over in AEW, and then there was just creative disconnect from Miro and AEW for years. It feels like we didn't really see Miro do too much over there in AEW after the past couple of years. So with Miro, I knew that was coming. I mean, is it a shame that Miro didn't have a place in AEW? Yes. But honestly, losing a Ricky Starks and a Malakai Black is a little bit more disappointing if I'm Tony Khan and company over at AEW. Not that Miro isn't on their level. He totally is. It was just one of those things where you could tell it wasn't working after the first year, after the first 18 months, maybe. You could tell it wasn't working. Miro being in AEW. After a while, it just didn't work. He wasn't happy. They didn't have anything for him. You can't really use this excuse with Malakai Black because there was totally something you could have done there with him. There was totally something you could have done with Ricky Starks. And last but not least, the fact that Penta and Rey Fénix are over in WWE now is a humongous blunder. Those guys are AEW talent through and through, day one originals over at AEW, and now they're going to be over at WWE. Penta's already at WWE, and Rey Fénix is all but confirmed to be over there. I'm sure he'll be over there sooner rather than later, probably in time for the Backlash Premium Live event in Mexico City happening after WrestleMania. So, yeah, we got a few AEW releases. They all seem to be WWE bound, and that's a shame. I'm sure AEW will be fine without them. It's just, this was unnecessary. You lose a couple of these guys, you lose Miro, fine. You lose Miro and Malakai Black, fine. You can't lose all 5. You can't lose all 5 is what I'm trying to say, right? Those are 5 really good wrestlers there that you can't afford to lose. And that's just a real big shame. Honestly, losing all 5 of those guys to WWE for what? I understand these 5 guys did not have a place in either of AEW's singles championships last year or this year, right? None of these guys could have been AEW World Champion. I think Malakai Black could have been AEW International Champion. But honestly, what they've been doing with Takeshita has been good. What they've been doing with Ospreay and even MJF holding the title last year was pretty solid. So I think Malakai Black's AEW International Championship reign should have came in between that long Orange Cassidy title reign. I don't think Orange Cassidy needed to hold the title that long. In fact, I think Malakai Black should have beaten him for it, honestly. There was room for a Malakai Black International Championship reign there. That was a blunder. And then, you look at the TNT title. We had Miro hold the TNT title back in the day. What was that? 2020, I think, 2021, if I'm not mistaken. There's definitely more they could have done with Miro. I think Miro could have won the international championship once again, alongside Malakai Black. And then you look at the Lucha Brothers. Man, those guys should have won the tag team titles more than they actually did. They won the titles once. They should have won them again at least one more time. They won the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship in 2023, and that was solid. That just leads me into my next point, guys. Like, could Ricky Starks have won a TNT championship? Maybe. Um, while you could argue that these guys could have held one of the 4 men's singles titles in AEW, maybe even the tag titles once more for the Lucha Bros. You also look at this situation where these 5 wrestlers are not being used, and then you look over at Ring of Honor and say, what the heck is Ring of Honor doing? Miro could have easily been a Ring of Honor world champion. If you did not have anything for him in AEW, then put him on Ring of Honor and give him the world title. Lucha Bros, if you don't have the AEW World Tag Team titles available for them, then go ahead and give them the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship once more. You look at Ricky Starks, give him the World Television title, give him the Pure title. What I'm trying to say is we see 5 amazing stars get released from AEW and go on over to WWE. Not all of them are over there yet, but 2 of the 5 are, and I won't be surprised if by the end of this year, all 5 wrestlers that we are talking about right now are in WWE. You see these 5 guys, you have nothing for them. That's what Ring of Honor is for. That's what Ring of Honor is for. Get rid of Honor Club. I'm not going to go into this. You guys have heard me say this a million times. I think Ring of Honor should not be behind the Honor Club paywall. Collision does not have an identity. Put Ring of Honor championships and storylines on the AEW Collision show. Make these Ring of Honor championships and storylines more accessible, and the talent that you have nothing for, have them go to Ring of Honor for a period of time and put on good wrestling matches. It's that easy. Like, it baffles me that you have between AEW and Ring of Honor, you have 7 total men singles championships. Ricky Starks, Malakai Black did not win 1. Penta did not win 1. I promise if they adapt that mindset with Ring of Honor and put it on Saturdays on Collision, you will prevent the loss of superstars. You could have convinced a Malakai Black to stay with the Ring of Honor World title. You could have convinced a Miro to stay with the Ring of Honor World title. You could have convinced Ricky Starks to stay by straight up making Saturday night AEW Collision featuring Ring of Honor his show. He could have been the guy for Saturday night. And I know that's what they wanted to do with Collision. Obviously, they have the talent with CM Punk when he was in AEW. And CM Punk himself has even said that he wanted to use AEW Collision to get Ricky Starks over. You could still do things like that. Use the Ring of Honor championships. You have so many championships over there between AEW and Ring of Honor. AEW championships and storylines on Wednesday, and then go Ring of Honor championships and storylines on Saturday. If you don't have something for Ricochet in 6 months, go give Ricochet the Ring of Honor world title. What? No harm, no foul. He's wrestling. He's got something to do. He's got a championship reign. He's got something to prove. Let him wrestle. Let him wrestle on Saturdays. I guarantee you people will watch. If they see that Ricochet versus Roderick Strong for the Ring of Honor World Championship is happening on AEW Collision live, if that is happening more often than not on Saturdays, people are going to tune in. Whatever they're trying to do for Collision right now is not working. The Outrunners, the Outrunners don't have much to do with the AEW World Tag Team Championship right now. Maybe they're not ready, and that's okay. Man, they should be defending the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship on Collision on Saturdays. I will tune in for that 100%, and I'm sure the people watching will as well, unless you're one of those, WWE stands, then I don't speak for you. Rant over. Utilize your championships. Utilize your TV time. Get rid of that nonsense Ring of Honor Honor Club. I'm trying not to curse because of my new profession. Nonsense, get rid of the Honor Club, the Ring of Honor weekly TV show, embrace it as a part of AEW, and feature the Ring of Honor championships and storylines on Collision's show every Saturday. And anytime you don't have room for a Miro, for a Malakai Black, for a Ricky Starks on Wednesday Night Dynamite between AEW championships and storylines, then you go ahead and say, hey, we're going to have you work Saturdays. Prove yourself. Here is the Ring of Honor World Championship. Here is the Ring of Honor Television Championship. Here is the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. Here are the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Show us what you got. Get people to watch us on Saturday, and we will bring you up to Wednesday. That type of philosophy, that type of system will definitely prevent AEW from losing stars and will facilitate an opportunity for guys like Ricky Starks, Miro, Malakai Black to show Tony Khan and company why they should be on Wednesday, why they should be on the pay-per-views. Am I speaking nonsense? Tell me when I'm speaking nonsense. I think I'm seeing what's happening over at AEW. I'm seeing the big waste of time that Ring of Honor is. I'm seeing what the waste of time that Collision is. I'm seeing the potential for the amendment of Ring of Honor to be on AEW Collision every Saturday, and I'm seeing the opportunity that it could give people that aren't exactly being used right in the way that Ricky Starks was, in the way that the Lucha Bros weren't. That's all. I totally went on a rant, but here we are. I was hoping to get this episode done in under 10 minutes, but here we are, 22 minutes in, 23 minutes in. Let's wrap it up. We got the watch list, guys. Sorry for my rant. You know how I get. Nonetheless, man, a lot of people jumping ship directly from AEW over to WWE, and it looks really bad. And I just presented Tony Khan with the answer. This is the answer. Make things accessible. Make things valuable. All right. Watch list. We only got one show of importance, one match of significance that I was able to sniff out for you guys, and it is on Friday Night SmackDown, as we have DIY defending the WWE World Tag Team not the World Tag Team, the WWE Tag Team Championship against Pretty Deadly. DIY versus Pretty Deadly, WWE Tag Team Championship. Good match. Going to be a fun match. We'll see what Pretty Deadly can do here. They haven't really been utilized in this type of space yet, to where they're challenging for the WWE Tag Team titles. And I got to be honest, man, the WWE Tag Team titles have been some of the best tag team titles in the whole entire world of professional wrestling, right? We have DIY as the current champions. We had Theory and Waller as the inaugural champions. And then we had the Motor City Machine Guns win those titles fairly quickly. You have guys like the Street Profits, guys like Pretty Deadly, who of course will be in this match on Friday night. As the division looks good, the titles are ever so prevalent on Friday Night SmackDown. They just had a match in the Royal Rumble Premium Live event. I think the WWE Tag Team Championship Division and Championship over at SmackDown is doing fantastic work. So I would not miss this for the world. I think DIY versus Pretty Deadly is going to be awesome. I'm excited to see what comes of this. I think the Street Profits are looking at those titles, and the Street Profits are going to hold those titles very soon. Nonetheless, this is going to be an interesting match, right? So I'm very excited for this match. That is the only thing on the watch list. Normally, I'd like to present more to you on the watch list, but there's just not too much going on next week, and that's okay. We'll be back next week to summarize and look at what happened, and then we'll go from there. I'll provide you with a new watch list. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Wrestling does not have an off season. So anytime you have a short watch list, in this specific situation, a one show, one match watch list, take the week off. Watch the match that I told you to watch, but take a little break from wrestling because this stuff goes on and on and on and on. If you're watching WWE and AEW, that's more than enough to keep you satisfied all year long. But if that doesn't do it for you, New Japan Pro Wrestling, man, TNA, CMLL, Rev Pro, there is good stuff out there and we are here to cover it. So anytime there's a short watch list, take a break, recharge the wrestling battery, and then come back next week. Because guess what? The road to WrestleMania has just begun. We got the Elimination Chamber right around the corner. And the weekend after Elimination Chamber is AEW Revolution. We're going to be ramping up here pretty soon. So take a break. I understand the watch list only being one match, one show is kind of lame. Take a break. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Get on out of here. I'll talk to you later. I don't want to steal that from Santi Zap. I love that Santi Zap ends his videos with "Get on out of here." I actually teach. That is my new career. I am now a teacher. So "Get on out of here" is something I say quite often during my workday. So I don't want to steal that from Santi Zap. I just kind of said it very naturally because I've been not only teaching recently, but also consuming his content. So I want to give him credit. But nonetheless, get on out of here.